Hello everybody, this is El Capitan here again with Foodie Tactic Hub. We brought you a proactive analysis before the Clásico. In today's video, we're gonna go through both teams' weaknesses and strength. And at the end, we're gonna illustrate how both teams can win and what the chances of winning. And this video is a little bit heavy, so let's cut it short and get into it. Both teams are coming to the Clásico after winning important games. Barcelona won against Olympiacos 6-1, and that's a huge threat to Madrid. That Barcelona's coming back, especially Fermin Lopez came back, and Raphinha might come back. And Real Madrid coming to the Clásico with an important win against Juventus. So both teams are coming with the spirits up. So we're expecting that we're gonna have a clash between Xabi Alonso and Hansi Flick. I'm super excited. I'm super pumped about this game because my expectation is high because both teams play with high defensive lane. So we might have lots of goals in this game. We're gonna begin with Real Madrid, breaking down Xabi Alonso's tactical approach and philosophy. Xabi Alonso loves to control the ball and to control the rhythm. That's why we saw him in the most recent games. He had positions more than 68%, as well as he loves to play with high defensive lane, which causes him lots of struggles, especially when we saw that against Juventus, when they had so many chances due to the quick transitions and the defending line weren't able to deal with these transitions. Against Atletico Madrid, when Simeone utilized the quick transitions and won 5-2, and that loss was mostly due to the rest defense. They weren't organized well, but we seen that Militao in the last game, he was crucial. I'm not sure if Huijsen would be there if Huijsen and Militao played together. Most likely Xabi Alonso would have a proper back defensive line, and Xabi Alonso needs to watch out at this point because Barcelona is very dangerous with quick transitions, especially playing vertical with the existence of Pedri and Fermin Lopez. And if Raphinha was there, probably it's ultimate dangerous to play with this high defensive lane. Especially Fermin Lopez, as we saw him, he scored a hat-trick the last game in the Champions League. He's very vertical, he's very direct to the goal. So Xabi Alonso needs to watch out about this point. The other struggle that Xabi Alonso might face if Barcelona plays with compact low block, but I don't think so because Hansi Flick he has never played with that style. But the point here is Xabi Alonso struggles a lot with teams who play with low compact, especially we saw that against Juventus and Getafe. In both teams he struggled a lot, although he had the position above 68% in the both games, 68% in Juventus game and 76% on Getafe's game. But the solution was the individual skills that he has, and we have to pay attention to that individual skills. When you have Mbappe and Vinicius and Bellingham, so you have a quite solutions. I don't think this point is gonna be an issue against Barcelona. Especially we know that Barcelona loves to play with high defensive lane as well as hold the position as well. This solidity from Militao intercepting the ball while Getafe tries to build up gives Xabi Alonso the confidence. Militao is not only good with intercepting the balls on the ground, he's amazing as well with the aerial ball. In minute 13:58, when he intercepted the ball, Militao, he's not only good with intercepting the ball and defending without the ball. He's as well good with the build-up. As we know that Xabi Alonso loves to build up from the back, especially when Huijsen is there, and him having another player like Militao. He's good with the ball and building up from the back. As we could see in minute 10:54 in Getafe's game, when he tried to build up from the back and send the ball vertically to the final third. And now let's get to the tactical board. So Xabi Alonso loves to play with the formation of 4-2-3-1, and sometimes he would like to play when he wants to control the position, and when he wants to hold the position, he would play with 4-3-3. So normally what he would do is when he wants to control the position, Arda Güler will be next to Tchouaméni. He's the creative mind, and he's the guy who builds from the back. As well as we would see Jude Bellingham playing right in front of them, and that which gives solidity on the back, at the same time solidity in the midfield. So as we know that Vinicius and Mbappe, most likely they're not gonna come back and defend. On the right wing, this is the place that is not stable till now. Every game we see a new player coming in. I think, in my opinion, in this game that Xabi Alonso would play with 4-4-2, because this formation gives him the solidity on the back, on the defensive side, as well as it would be more flexible with the attacking side. So he would play with Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe as strikers, and mostly Bellingham as a left wing. And on the right wing, most likely it's gonna be Arda Güler, and the double would be Tchouaméni and Valverde if Trent or Carvajal is available. But if they are not available, he's gonna play with Valverde as a right back, and he's gonna play with Camavinga or Ceballos as a second double pivot with Tchouaméni. And we saw that he counted on this formation against Atletico Madrid, but this time probably is gonna be more effective because Militao is there, and most likely Huijsen would be back. That was just a glimpse of Xabi Alonso's formation that he might play in the Clásico, and we're gonna clarify more how he's gonna face Barcelona once we get into explaining Barcelona's approach on the tactical board. And now let's get to Barcelona. Yes, Barcelona won the last two games, especially last game 6-1, but before that they had two lost, and those two losses were against PSG and Sevilla. And we saw how playing with a high press without your main players Raphinha and Ferran Torres and sometimes Lamine Yamal impacted on their performance, especially with playing with high defensive lane. Those two things weren't aligned. And now we're gonna explain Barcelona's weakness and strength and how it could be utilized by Real Madrid. Now if we take a look at those two games that Barcelona lost against PSG and Sevilla, the common struggle was with the high press. The high press wasn't efficient, especially with the absence of Raphinha and Ferran Torres, because those two players they were the key element with the high press, and I would call them, they are the measurement of the efficiency of the high press with Hansi Flick's team. And the other reason was that Hansi Flick weren't playing with the same defensive line for more than 3 games. That we would see Garcia playing alongside with Koparsi, and sometimes Koparsi and Araujo, sometimes Christensen and Araujo. So the chemistry at the back line wasn't there, especially with the absence of Baldi, who was a key element last season with Hansi Flick's team, especially with recovering the ball after it's lost. And sometimes he would play as a winger, not just a fullback. Those struggles actually translated with some goals we saw from PSG, and as well as Sevilla when they scored, that they tried to play vertically, as we saw that the second goal of PSG, Batinha was holding the ball alone, nobody pressed him. At the same time, he played vertically and exposed the central spaces. One vertical through pass to Hakimi, from Hakimi to Ramos, Barcelona's defending line. But in this game, there is another story. I don't think that Hansi Flick will continue with the same approach, especially with Fermin Lopez back and Baldi's back, and he might get Raphinha back. So this approach might work. But I don't think he's gonna count on it. I believe that Hansi Flick would try to play the same way he played against Newcastle. Yes, playing with high defensive lane, but not that high. Not to the extreme that to count on offside trap from the central midfield. That's obviously insanity. If Hansi Flick does it, that means we have to put him on the Genesis record and put his name there with the insanity category. Due to the restraining time, and somebody wants me to cut it short, but forgive me, my friend, this is El Clásico. I have to talk a little bit too much. For your sake, I would take you to the tactical board and elaborate more about this game. And let's go! So Barcelona would represent the blue chips and Real Madrid would represent the red chips. As we could see that Barcelona, that Hansi Flick would start up the line with 4-2-3-1 as normal, as always. And I think that Xabi Alonso would play with 4-4-2. I think Hansi Flick would start this game with it's important that Araujo plays alongside with Koparsi, on the right back Kondi, and on the left back Baldi. Double pivot Pedri and De Jong. Lamine Yamal on the right wing. Right next to him would be Fermin Lopez, and Raphinha would be as a left winger. And right in front of them is gonna be most likely Rashford if Ferran Torres doesn't come back. And Real Madrid, I think they would play with Carreras on the left back. And next to him would be Militao, and Huijsen if he comes back right next to Militao. As a right back would play with Valverde. As a double pivot, I think that he would play with Tchouaméni and Arda Güler, or he's gonna play with Ceballos and Arda Güler on the right wing. And on the left wing is gonna be most likely Bellingham, and interchanging between Bellingham and Vinicius. Of course, Mbappe on the front. I believe that Xabi Alonso would play 4-4-2 just to have a balance between the attacking and the defending at the same time. But we know Hansi Flick, he's gonna go crazy with high pressing line, but he needs to be mindful with the defensive line. So you can't go all the way high up, especially with Mbappe and Vinicius there. We know that they are very fast players and they could utilize any mistake. Especially the defensive back of Barcelona, they don't have that chemistry due to the injuries, and sometimes Flick, he would just try to be creative. But Flick, if he plays with Garcia in the back, let me tell you that Barcelona probably would concede more than 2 goals. That's for sure, because Garcia is a little bit slow, and at the same time facing Real Madrid with those high speed is gonna be dangerous. And we would see that for sure Xabi Alonso, he would focus on bringing Carreras one-on-one on with Lamine Yamal, and sometimes get help from the second double pivot, which I think might be either Ceballos or Camavinga. If he plays with Arda Güler as a second pivot, it's gonna be a little bit crucial with the defending side. So it would be a better choice to play actually with Camavinga, because he knows how to play as a left back, aggressive with the defending side as well. On the right side, we would see a battle between Valverde and Raphinha if he plays, because those two players are very aggressive, and we would see that sometimes Chouameni would support Valverde. This is something has to happen, and in this game we might see another thing. We might see Xabi Alonso focuses on Chouameni with pressing Pedri. On this game we might see something new, that Chouameni presses Pedri and not leave him comfortable when he has the ball. Whenever Pedri has the goal, you would see Chouameni plays one-on-one with him, and sometimes you would see the same thing happens with Jong, because those two players are the pillars of Barcelona's midfielder. So you would see always, whenever one of them has the ball, right away to them and try to tackle the ball or stop them from sending the ball vertically. And we know that Lamine Yamal, he always needs to be covered with two players. That's why I think Xabi Alonso would play with Bellingham as a winger, because Vinicius is not that strong, because Vinicius Jr. is not that aggressive with the defending. So you would see Bellingham come and support Carreras, as we remember that Carreras last season against Lamine Yamal played a wonderful game. But all the danger is gonna happen once Kondi comes and support Lamine Yamal and underlap between Militao and Carreras. So that would be dangerous, because Lamine Yamal is really good with the ball. That could create a danger to Xabi Alonso. And the same thing could happen on the other side, especially if Raphinha plays there. We would see that Baldi comes and support. Raphinha and play 2 against 1. But at this situation, we would see Chouameni helping them. We would see that Fermin Lopez tries to play in the half spaces and sometimes play next to Rashford or Ferran Torres, whoever is in the front. So they would create a danger on the final third, especially if Fermin Lopez gets the ball around zone 14. You would see him absolutely would try to attempt to score. As well as Real Madrid needs to be careful with Pedri and Jong, because sometimes they come and drop into the half spaces and act as a second striker as well. So I think that in this game, that both teams have the opportunity to score, but the main question would be, who would be able to defend better than the other? So the team that defends better, they would score more and they would win the game. We tried to give you a brief about both teams, how they could play. We had more things to share, but unfortunately the time is a little bit tight and I don't want to bore you, to be honest. And I said that the team who's gonna win, who has to have a better structure on the defending side. That's true, because both teams have the strength and they are aggressive in the attacking phase. But at the end of the video, I want to ask you one question. Who do you think that is gonna win, and who's gonna get the 3 points? Let's see you later. I forgot to tell you something. If you forgot to subscribe and give us a like button, please do so. We need your support. Peace!